Welcome to the Raymond Planning Board meeting for the town of Raymond. We're meeting on Wednesday, December 9th, 2019. Planning Board will come to order. The board does have a quorum, and we'll start with roll call.
Ed Kranich.
Robert O'Neill.
Greg Foster.
Kyle Bancroft.
This is a public proceeding, and unless the board specifically votes to go into executive session, you have the right to hear everything that is being said and to look at all of the exhibits that are presented. Please notify the chairman if you are unable to hear or to see. The board works from a published agenda. And we'll be considering tonight's items in the following order. We've got some new business or consideration of applicants for board membership, presentation of findings of fact for the Panther View Ridge subdivision, some ordinance workshop, and then some communications, followed by adjournment. In each instance, the burden is upon the applicant to demonstrate compliance with the provisions of the applicable ordinances. After the board votes on the merits of each project application, it will prepare a written notice of decision. Generally speaking, appeals must be filed with the Superior Court within 30 days of this board's decision. Also, to be certain that you preserve your individual right to file any such appeal, you must be certain that the board records evidence of your participation this evening. All persons speaking, including representatives of the applicant and members of the public, are asked to stand, state their name, address, affiliation with the project, if any. You must sign in the sign-up sheet if you're speaking tonight, and all persons speaking shall address the chairman. New business. Consideration of applicants for board membership. Mike, Bruce, Kevin. Mike, Bruce,
Yes.
and Kevin. Welcome, and thanks for coming.
Yep, their applications look very good.
Don't they look great?
Yep.
Anybody have any
I
questions?
have no questions.
You guys have any questions?
We'll have a full warm
Actually, I'm
body
just
of.
curious, how many positions do you need to fill?
There are the board is 7, so we need to fill 3. So you're in, you just squeaked in. It was rough.
We have no choice.
Do you guys have any questions for us? Do you kind of know what we do? I know Bruce, I know,
You still only have 3 applicants, correct?
we still only have 3 applicants. Yeah, Bruce, sorry.
I don't know if Bruce knows what we do.
Yeah. No, you guys are all set, happy, you know, the ordinances and all that good stuff, great, okay. Any other questions?
Nope.
Motion, let's do
I move that we,
all at once.
do they need the names?
Yeah.
Oh, I can't say them. Mike?
Darkangelo.
Come on, take a shot at it.
Darkangelo.
Yeah, they put my glasses on. Mike DiArcangelo.
Very close.
Very close.
Darkangelo.
It's better than I do with Scott's name.
Bruce Sanford and Kevin Woodbury be considered by the select board to be assigned to the planning board.
Second.
Any discussion? Catch before they leave. All those in favor? Done. Welcome.
Not yet.
What?
The select board has to.
Oh, yeah, we sent it to the select board, yeah. But, yeah, we're,
I thought you were welcome on the ship already.
oh, no, not yet. Hey, this is tough to get on here.
Yeah.
There's another few.
That'll be,
Yes.
just for disclosure, they would be appointed on a Tuesday night, and then the next night we have planning board.
So if they can get in to take their oath,
Right.
they can show up on the planning board that Wednesday night.
Can we give the oath Wednesday night when they arrive?
You have to have the town clerk do it.
Oh,
So I don't know
Okay.
if that's something that we can kind of facilitate, because it would be helpful.
it's by phone.
It's like you had one of those elevating chairs or something.
It's a fog signal.
It would be beneficial just because we've got some things with the ordinance that'd be good to start moving on. And given we're into February, if we have a bad weather date, things are gonna
Right.
get scrunched, so.
Can you all
Can you-
3 make it on Wednesday during the day to City Hall to get sworn in?
Yeah, I think I can.
Perfect.
Could you send us, assuming that we're gonna get put in, could you send us the information to review beforehand? For that meeting?
Oh, yes, that's a good idea. That's an excellent idea. We could, Yeah.
I've got your number.
Yeah, we can get you, it's public information, so we can make a packet up anyway.
right, 3 packets. Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, I think you're a shoo-in, though. I wouldn't be too concerned.
I don't know, those background checks, you know.
Yeah, I think it'd be rough. All right. You guys can stay or enjoy or
Go home and watch it.
go home and, yeah, catch it on the late night news, whatever you would prefer.
Do you know how to get a
Thank
hold of
you.
those copies now?
Next is the presentation of finding of fact for the Panther View Ridge subdivision.
Actually, we've got a request for de minimis change on that.
Okay, that's what I was wondering, was not.
Yeah, let's do
Okay.
let's look at the de minimis change first. I have prepared the findings of fact for both Panther View Ridge subdivision and the Westview Estates. I don't know if you weren't here. I think you were just starting when that one came out, but we've got the findings for that one too. It's been out there a little bit, so
Okay.
we just want to get those signed by the other three that were here for that hearing. You don't need to sign. You weren't here.
Okey-doke.
So I don't know if anybody's here to represent David Baker? No? All right. They had put in a request to revise the condition, which they actually agreed to initially for the removal of sprinklers within the Lot 4B, which was created in that Alfred Mann Panther View Ridge subdivision. That was the one lot created. And we had put a requirement, because I believe it was part of the original subdivision, overall subdivision, that sprinklers were required in that subdivision. They have come back basically saying that, you know, we were kind of looking at this from a private road situation, and that if it were a standalone lot, it wouldn't be required to have sprinklers. But as you saw, what we did with Westview and others that have come in that may not have even had that condition initially, we're now employing that condition to subdivisions. So they just wanted the board to uptake the conversation to see if that's something that they would consider to remove that condition.
Okay.
So I mean, basically, the protocol that would have to happen for you to I mean, you can have a discussion on it, but to formally remove it, someone who voted in the affirmative would have to make a motion to reconsider that approval. And then from there, you could open up the discussion and go from there. Or you could have an informal discussion, straw poll, just to see if there's any takers that even want to open this at this point.
Well, considering they're not here
Right.
to make their case, I would say we just move on, unless there's somebody that really wants to discuss it. It's something we've never done, so.
Yeah, I mean, it may be just for beneficial, just maybe to save everybody some time. I mean, does the board, just as informal discussion, does the board, anybody on the board have a strong feeling one way or the other about removal of the sprinklers?
I would not support removing the sprinkler requirement.
Ditto.
Me neither. What's Mr. Jones think about it?
We recommend the sprinkler system for this building and for the buildings that were proposed for Westview, in lieu of creating a water supply.
Right.
And by doing that, it reduces the amount of water supply that we need to provide in the event of a fire. So we're in favor of keeping that stipulation in place.
I would agree with him on that as well.
Did they have more than one option of how to provide water?
They have, yeah, I mean, but that was the one that was preferred, probably the least expensive of all of them, because you'd have to build a cistern, fire pond, which is almost, you know, with a dry hydrant. So that is by far the least expensive of their options. Okay, just checking the straw poll so we can have that conversation with them if they decide they want to come back and look at this again. Okay. So I do have here copies of the findings of fact. Pass those down.
Sure.
Actually, I've got two, and what we can do is, we can either vote on this, or we can take this up under Planner Communications at the end and just deal with the ordinance first. Because I've got another one here to review as well.
Why don't we just do them, Jim, and get them
Okay.
done?
So the first one, whoops, I've got two the same. An extra one, I think it's an extra one. Is that you or me? me.
I have no idea.
It was me. So essentially, we went through, as with always, they had already met many of the conditions, but I did just outline for that one, the necessity of the turning radius. The
Well, sorry, Jim, which one we doing?
Baker.
Okay.
The Panther Ridge. The biggest concerns were the shoulder, the turning radius, extending the culvert, and the engineer of record inspecting the road to make sure that the sub-base meets the specifications for the town of Raymond road standards, where they're widening, and that they provide us financial and technical proof prior to any building permits. They had already addressed all the other conditions on their plan. And you actually signed the plan in October. October? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So this is just kind of wrapping that all up at this point. And then there was a comment in there, if damage was done to existing paving, the applicant shall repair and replace. It must be done so prior to any issuance of occupancy permit for the home. Because remember correctly, some of the neighbors had concerns about the condition or the disturbance of pavement while they're doing the construction work.
Yeah, they paid for the paving, I think.
Right, yeah, they pay to replace and repair and damage that they couldn't do. All right.
So, we approved this without a full board. So I wonder,
Well, that was the one, that was the
yeah,
evening we hit
Kyle
the
was
3-0.
not here. So, I'm wondering, do you think it'd be worthwhile just for procedural sake, having the vote to approve it, let Kyle sign it, and then we'd have a quorum of approval of the quorum, otherwise it's not gonna go with signatures.
Yeah. I know that was a strange event.
Yeah.
So what you want to do is you want to add Carl
Well-
to the vote?
Yeah, I'd like to add Kyle to the vote Kyle, you were here for the whole discussion, you just missed the ending part,
Yeah.
which I think, would you be comfortable voting on it?
Yeah, absolutely. So all you could do is just pencil in 4-0,
Yeah.
that's all.
You wanna just do that, or
Yeah.
you don't wanna even do the vote, just pencil it in?
You can take the informal vote. Problem is, we've already signed the plan.
Yeah, well, Kyle hasn't.
Yeah. But the plans have already been off to be recorded.
How many signatures did we get? Did we get 4 on there?
We had 3 on
Only
there.
got 3.
3?
But you don't, for the plan.
Yeah,
you
they
don't-
never know,
yeah,
right.
Yeah. I would just have him sign the findings.
Okay.
Or we can change the vote on the findings to 4-0. If you want to hold a special vote right now, we can do that.
I mean, it doesn't matter to me, I just want to, protect them and the town as
Yeah.
well, and,
So if you want, you can reopen that, take a reconsideration vote. Because you've taken a vote once for 3-0.
right,
I would just reopen it for the purposes of a quorum vote. Make it 4-0, and then we'll just note it in here as 4-0, and it'll be dated today.
okay.
I don't think anybody's gonna appeal it. The appellate process has gone through already.
Yeah, I don't, it may not even be worth it, but it would seem that at least we're covered.
And then the one we sign, we just have to correct the 3-0 to 4-0.
All right, so then I would move that we'd open the Alfred Mann Drive subdivision plan for discussion. So voting member, yes?
Yes,
You second that? So, all those in favor? All right, so discussion, and now I just move that we approve the amended Panther View Ridge subdivision as proposed, or as written in the finding of fact.
Second.
And all those in favor? All right, so that'll just,
So we'll keep that. We'll keep this one. We can sign it at the end.
yeah,
We'll do the formal sign again. The second one, Bob, I don't think you were here for this one.
nope.
If you did, it might have been the night you came back.
Mhm.
had that discussion. This one is for the Westview subdivision, for the extension of Westview Drive, and there were 3 additional lots and 2 lots we captured that were part of a family split. All told, there were 5 lots that were in that. Again, most of this was pretty straightforward. The conditions were, which they have on the plans, and I believe that one's headed off to be recorded as well. We wanted to disclose the cumulative amounts of wetland filling. Prior to commencing construction of any house lot, specific grading plan for each lot be showing the limit of soil disturbance, retaining of existing vegetation and erosion control measures. A note added to the plan describing how construction debris removal and sewage removal services shall be the lot owner's responsibility. A note added to the plan stating that any alteration of a proposed well, location, or septic system may require the CEO to request an update of study, and if such study is required, it'd be borne at the cost of the developer or the homeowner. All new homes will be required to have sprinkler systems. Note shall be added discussing the terms of the expiration of the subdivision plan as outlined in the site plan ordinance. And the last one is the same as the financial and technical capacity must be provided prior to issuance of a building permit. So those were really the conditions. Everything else is straightforward. And you, again, I believe that has been signed, and I think Alfred has he recorded that one yet?
I've not gotten back.
We have not gotten a copy, but it has been taken to
But
be.
he has taken it.
Yep. So you just need a motion, and we'll sign these both at the end, unless you have questions.
I move that we approve subdivision.
It's
Yeah,
Westview
subject-
Estates is what it technically is.
Westview Estates, subject to the conditions of approval from staff.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? I'll abstain.
Perfect. Awesome. Okay. Ordinance workshop. You wanna lead the charge here?
Well, I like that one. We were looking at some of the things that would have to change in the shoreland zoning if we were to follow through with the not allowing type 1 mobile homes in the shoreland zoning. We've looked at a couple of how we can change the definitions and stuff like that, that would be acceptable, and that we would we've got to go through it because right now there is no definitions in the shoreland zoning at all. So we'd have to add the 2 types of modular manufactured housing, I'm sorry. So those would be in there. And then just be a definition of a dwelling would have to change, because in the shoreland zoning it does state a mobile home shall be considered a dwelling. So we'd have to play around with, we'd have to remove that, the mobile home, and maybe rewrite it a little bit differently so that modular homes are part of it,
Okay.
but mobile homes are not.
Right, because modular are type 2, and the mobile home standard prior to 1976 is the type 1.
Yep.
So the idea would be that, as you know, understood from that state statute, we can't prohibit manufactured housing in shoreline zoning, but we can narrow down to which type. So our suggestion was going to be modular type 2, which requires it to be on a full foundation.
Yep.
And but still not inspected, right? We still.
Yeah, it wouldn't be any same thing. It's manufactured housing, it's
Right.
HUD.
Yep.
Nothing that I could look at inside, but you can, like I said, the basement, the floor, it's connected underneath, but nothing
Okay.
on the interior.
Now, I don't know how many pre-1976 modular homes are still out
around,
there.
yeah.
They still could be out there, but I think just from our standpoint, from a safety perspective, with the limitation of inspections on it, it just makes sense to incorporate this into the shoreline zoning. Obviously, for the other districts in town, both would still apply, as we do have a manufactured housing overlay district, so both of those would still apply. for anyone who might be making a
Yeah.
revision or repair or anything like that.
Yeah, because right now, like in shoreline, there's no, in the shoreline zone provisions, there's no real definitions of anything in there, so we would like to, that would be the, we'd have to get that in there and then figure out the wording, and then they play around with the table of uses that are
Right.
allowed in shoreline zoning.
Yeah, we'd have to modify the,
Yeah.
if you gotta go through the shoreline zone, there's a table, that has the allowed uses per,
Right.
like, resource protection,
Yep.
LLR, LR1, but we have to go through there and add a couple lines for this type of housing.
So I kind of came in at the end of this, or the beginning of this. Does this answer the problem that was?
I don't know, but I think this would be this is the suggestion that we would promote, go forward to the
Okay.
council. But I think the other piece of this too, which you had brought up, is that before we get into a deep discussion about this, we really felt like we want to have a full
Right.
board. So we're kind of just going, this overview tonight is preparing for hopefully that February meeting.
Okay,
So we can start getting into this, and then hopefully by March, we can really have this buttoned down to go to select board.
Once we come up with our consensus, would we give that to the legal department just to review before it goes to the?
We probably would do that between the February and March meetings, so that we have some feedback, so that when we met in March, we could make a final suggestion or recommendation to the
we have a
select board.
public hearing in there somewhere, right?
That would be in March,
So in March, we'll do the public hearing and send it to the selectmen.
correct.
So probably.
Unless something comes out of the public hearing,
Right.
you know. If not, then we'd have to wait till, now we're starting to really push it out to the end, that's
Right.
all. So, I mean, that's what I'm saying, we're kind of getting down to crunch time on this
Yep.
one. But
Okay,
I think, obviously, I'm sure some of the public will have some comments, but hopefully we have done enough homework in advance to understand the statutes and all the different types of manufactured housing, so that, we can hopefully address those there. If there is something substantial, then we'll have to wait until April.
yep, okay. And you'll do one of those briefing sheets too
Yeah,
for the public?
yeah, we'll
Okay.
do, when we get to the
When we
March
get to that
one,
point, right.
yeah.
Yep,
Following the next meeting, we hope to lay out the definitions for you, and maybe some of the language, and maybe even a suggested table change. But obviously, you're gonna wanna have a discussion on that. And, these are all posted for public, you can even offer public comment even during the February meeting. You don't have, it's not a
Yeah.
public hearing, but you can open up the public
Right.
comment. But, I
Okay.
think with what we know with the state statute, I think this is, and I think we will run it by the legal counsel as well, just to make sure that we have the right interpretation.
Mhm.
But this seems to make the most sense.
Yeah, because of the wording of the definition now, we mimic the guidelines from the state. So we just kind of want to make sure that we're not stepping on any toes. If we change that definition, does it create anything that the state? I don't think so. Like I said, the way Jim said, that we talked to the town attorney as far as how they interpret that statute, that we probably have that ability to do that.
okay.
Yeah, you can dictate what type, you just can't
Right.
say none.
Do we have any big projects coming down the road?
Nothing really that I would say is coming. I had a few inquiries about some, a camp of some sort that might come in front, but very early.
Okay,
No land even
So-
exchange hands or anything at this time, so.
And we do have a few other small, which we can bring into the workshop too. It's really clerical revisions to the ordinance, things that we found during the course of the year that just need tweak or a word or two added, just because they were
Yeah.
incoherent, but yeah.
Yeah, because the DEP reviewed our shoreland zoning. They gave it a conditional approval as long as we make certain changes, a couple of them, some definitions and stuff. So we have to make sure we've got those in there.
And I think you found one today for Board of Appeals. Again, just a small clerical correction we need to make in that statute, so. All really housekeeping, small things other than this manufactured housing one. This is probably the biggest one you'll undertake. Oh, and the other one is that we want to add the expiration of plans that's currently in the site plan ordinance, make sure we get that in the subdivision ordinance. So, I mean, there's a bunch of things, but it's mostly housekeeping,
okay.
being consistent.
Jim, way back when we were doing lots of subdivisions.
Yes.
One of the things that came out of some planning group was to try to make the subdivisions connected for trash collection, for bus runs. And we never did anything on it, pretty much because then the subdivisions kind of went away. But it kind of came back, I was thinking again when it came back when we were doing the last subdivision, is that did kind of connect, but the road that it connected to was not really.
Right, you're talking about Alfred Mann?
Yeah.
How it went way up. So are you talking about road connectivity?
Yes.
Not
to
just
the
right-of-way connectivity, but road connectivity?
Right, and I mean, the state kind of thing, planning thing guys, whatever, they said, it reduces the cost for bus transportation for schools, it reduces the trash collection because they don't have to go in and out of subdivisions. But if we were to try to do that, we have no way of making that happen right now. But even if it just happens by default, the road that it connects to, as in this case, is not really up to handling the traffic that we probably would want it to handle.
That could be a case depending on, if you had two major subdivisions, obviously it'd be okay.
Right.
But if you had a major and a private, do you even have the rights to go into the private? If, well, they both would be private because we don't accept.
Right, so take roads.
But we did approve a subdivision or two, I have to go back in my notes, where we actually had that connecting road that was in place if in fact another subdivision came to the property
So it's
behind
basically
it.
just a continuation of a right-of-way for the purposes of a road down the line.
Right.
That's pretty common in a lot of towns, that requirement, especially even if you have large tracts of land that are out in the rear of the property, just so that, again, they may have a frontage on another road or further down the road, but for the sake of your exact point, for the loop consideration and traffic flow. That's not uncommon, and there's actually language in a lot of ordinances nearby that has that for road connectivity.
Is it something that we should look at before developments starts
Something
again?
we can take a look at it. Wyndham has it, a bunch of towns have that.
Most likely, Gorham might have it in there, I'm not sure. But
Yeah, it's pretty much, if, like you said, long-term land planning, it's pretty much the norm now to look at for road extensions in the future, and it's also kind of a cost for the town, so that each, like you said, each one doesn't have a little stem of road.
Yep.
Or if they do, they link together, or
So-
one may have the ability to go in and loop, and there may be physical features that you can't go any further, but at least we wouldn't have the two stems
Right.
going in. Yeah. No, that's some language that we can look at, we can provide, or I can probably pull up some from other towns to give you some suggestions.
Okay.
Can you
If
make
that's
that
something that-
requirement on a private road though, because you're dumping extra traffic onto?
Well, that's where it gets tricky.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think that the fact that the means is there for it to happen, whether or not legally the two sides come to an agreement or not, at least there's something in place where right now, there's nothing.
Right.
There's no even chance of it happening, where at least if the right-of-way were out there,
Yeah.
there's the opportunity for the other side to at least negotiate with this side to use the right-of-way. Where right now, it wouldn't even be the right-of-way, it would just be landlocked, basically. There would be no access to it. It might be, some cases, they might be 100 feet away, and we do see a few of these come up on the smaller side, where, geez, if I could just get to that road, it'd be a lot cost-effective than to build this long private driveway or whatever into it, so, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, it doesn't, like you said, you can't force a developer's hand, but at least it's an option, and you're looking at long-range planning that
Right.
way. Town-accepted roads, then you'd have a lot better tool.
All right.
Was there anything else on the ordinances? There was one other thing. Oh, I can't remember. So I think that's essentially it for this evening. Get you to sign these. There was one other, we did have at a staff review, we did do a backlot driveway for Peter Levitt off of Raymond Hill Road. That's been approved, and they haven't started building yet, but
yeah, I don't think so.
it has been approved for one backlot.
Okay.
Move to adjourn?
Second.
All those in favor? Done.